Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello, welcome back to All for United. The first of a few shows like this. We're going to do a couple of, I don't know what to call it, scout report, loan report, whatever you want to call it. We'll think of a title by the time this goes out. First episode, we had to do James Garner. So I'm joined by the expert, the representative for Forest for today, Mr Dore from Dore on Tour, to make sure I got that right. Firstly, welcome to the channel. How are you doing?
First of all, thank you very much for having me on the channel. And I'm excited. I'm buzzing. I've never been so excited. We're back in the Premier League. So, yes, I'm excited. I can't wait now. Is it 4 weeks to go now? So, I'm excited.
Is that it already? Is it? Christ. I think for United fans, it's kind of, it's like, do we want the start of the season to come quickly enough?
Nah, you lot don't.
So it's especially because we've got Liverpool on the third game. That's going to be quite something.
Unbelievable.
We'll talk a little bit about United towards the end. We are obviously going to focus on Garner to start with. But I just want to ask you a question, obviously, on Forest first off. For people that may not watch the Championship or haven't seen much of Forest over the last 2 years, obviously, while Garner's been there. If you could just talk to me a little bit about kind of your style of play, maybe, and just kind of what Garner stepped into when he went into that loan.
It's funny because Garner's been with Forest. He was with Forest for 2 years, and first he played under Chris Hughton, and I'll tell you a story. Like I said, with Garner, when we got him the first spell, I think he was on loan at Watford. And he didn't play well there. He come to Forest, and I'll be honest, I thought to myself, who is this guy? I thought, nah, if he can't do well for Watford, why is he going to do well for Forest? So his first game, he made his debut against Wickham, and when I seen it, I thought, wow, what a player! Because the way he was playing that time, he was playing long ball, and it just like we had to change it. And when Garner came into Forest, he changed everything. Then on that season, like 2 seasons ago, under Chris Hughton, he got Player of the Season. Like, because that season was the worst season ever, worst one, and I couldn't believe it. Like I said, a player that wasn't afraid to do long balls, do like passes like. You thought yourself, nah, why is he doing kind of passes? But Garner, like I said, the way he was playing, it wasn't great. And then the second season, when he came out on loan again, under Chris Hughton, he was playing the same kind of football, and I'll be real with you, like he didn't start well. He didn't play well for Forest, and if we had Chris Hughton in charge, it would have really hampered Garner because he wasn't playing to Garner's strength. Then, as you know, Steve Cooper come in, and what can I say? What can I say about Steve Cooper? Like, he knows how to deal with young players. At the start of Cooper's in charge of Forest, Garner didn't play well. He wasn't great at all. I think you're from Cooper came in September, and from September to I'll say the start of this at the end, middle of December, it wasn't great. I think there's talk of Garner going back to Man U to another loan club, and I said what you said about the way he was playing. Cooper was playing fast football going forward, and Garner had to slowly get into the team. And when you mentioned about where he could play, he was testing him as a number 8. He was testing him as number 10. And then Cooper found the right position for him. Sometimes he'll play alongside Ryan Yates, and that's where I'm slowly was getting the best out of him from the first season he come. And the rest is history, Connor. The rest is history, and it's like I said, the positions that he's playing, he was number 8. number 10, and he wasn't afraid to do that dangerous pass. And what can I say? Let's say, what a changed player from the start of that season to the finish season. And credit to himself, like I said, he had so much pressure on him because when he's coming from a big club like Man United, he's got to perform. And you've got to credit him. And you've got to credit Steve Cooper as well for getting the best out of Garner. So I think it helped him a lot from the bad spell and then slowly getting back to his good spell with Forest.
I was going to ask you that actually, just quickly off the back of that, just before we move on to Garner in a little bit more detail. Is that kind of when you get a player like Garner that's come from Man United, do you expect them to be a certain? Obviously, they're going to be good, right? Because they've come through, Manchester United Academy, so they're going to be good on the ball. They're going to have something about them. But do you, as obviously a Championship last season, obviously Premier League coming up, but do you kind of look at these players and expect a lot of them, or do you think, they are still quite young and we've got to give them a bit of time? How do you kind of look at it as, obviously, because as United fans looking at a loanee, we're like, okay, it's just a bit of experience for them, see how they get on, but obviously it's your club, so there is that kind of demands to win every week. So how do you kind of look at loan players coming from the top clubs?
The problem is, like I said, when these loan, we had quite a lot of these loan players from last season, and when someone comes from Manchester United, everyone's going to assume, he's going to be a top class player, la-di-la. And like I said, and I said at the start, when he first signed for Forest, and like I said, when he was on loan at Watford, he wasn't great. He wasn't great at all. And there's always going to be pressure. We've had past players from Man United on loan that's not been great. And like I said, the second spell that under Forest, we didn't know. Like I said, every Forest fan was questioning him. Where's that Garner from a first spell? And like I said, there's always going to be pressure. Anyway, like any young player that I don't know that comes from any Premiership player that comes down to the Championship, always going to be pressure because when Garner come, like I said, no one knew who what his best position was, and like I said, we can play that number 8 role, we can play that number 10 role, and I think he did. Like I said, there was a game that I can say against Bristol City, wasn't great. He wasn't great at all, and that I think that kicked him. That made him think, I'm under pressure now because if I don't play well, I'm going back to Man U. And then I don't know what game it was. I think it was Hull at the City when we beat him 2-1. And that game he did an interview and said, "This game I need to stop playing good because when we're playing well, he's not going to get back in the team." And it proved a big point, massive point. And like I said, the rest is history. It's so much pressure. He had so much pressure, but like I said, he done it, and then. You know what? Like I said, the rest is history. What he did.
I think just off the back of that, then, so you said a couple of things there in terms of his position. Obviously, you've watched him now for a couple of seasons. Where would you say his defined? Obviously, he could be versatile and play a couple of positions, but if you're going to move him obviously elsewhere, we don't know what's going to happen with him next season. What would you say is his actual position?
That's a weird one, Connor. Like I said, he can play that number 8 and number 10, but I'm not saying that he can play that number 10 role. It's always important. Like I said, we was always struggling for a player to play in that number 10 role. And when he played alongside Ryan Yates, he was great. But when he played that number 10, he was even better. And because he's not afraid to do a risky ball. Like I said, he always looks for players like Brennan Johnson, and when we had Keenan Davis as well, he wasn't afraid. So as a Forest fan, his best position for me was the number 10 role. But if he doesn't play well, he can drop back to number 8. But the number 10 for it was more effective on the way we played. So I know Cooper knew Garner from the England under 18 setup or under 17 setup, and that number 10 it was a massive role for Forest, and he nailed it after December.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think United fans have got their hopes pinned a little bit on Garner being this saviour for our number 6 position that we seem to want to fill. And obviously, I've always said I don't think Garner's the option. I don't think any of the players in our academy are that option, to be being totally honest. So, hearing yourself say there that you'd probably push him a little bit further forward, that kind of 8 or 10 position. Like I said, he probably can't play that holding 6. I just want to talk a little bit about his mentality as well, kind of in and around the squad. What it was like, obviously as fans seeing him, what his attitude seemed like, kind of on and maybe off the pitch as well. Because I said we know obviously what social media is like with younger players nowadays. And that's their interaction platform. But just what he was like, what it seemed like he was like as a character, kind of in and around the dressing room as well.
It's funny because, like I said, we didn't really see much Garner doing interviews. I know he did. I think he did 1 or 2 interviews after the game on the Forest channel, but we didn't really see him. I think he just, like I said, that I think when I talk about the form he did after December, he's a quiet guy. He did the talking on the pitch. Sometimes he'd be good, sometimes he'd be bad, but the character, you can tell. Like I said, when we had a young team, and especially when he's playing alongside Ryan Yates, who's I think he's 23, 24 years old, and he's helping James Garner to play better. It was slowly going up, and his interaction with the Forest fans, like I said, it was great. He always, when he scores, shows passion. You want to see passion, and that's what we needed. And when, like I said, any club that sees a number 10, like I said, Garner will do something, do things, and Forest fans will love, and his interaction with the Forest fans, I think, like I said, we didn't hear much from him, but he did a talking on the pitch, and that's what all football fans want to see. And I think he quiet, but it is what it is. Like I said, he didn't really talk much.
That is good to hear in terms of his passion as well, because I think there's always the worry with loan players that maybe go in there, they're not going to take it maybe as serious, because that's not their their parent club, if you want to call it that. But it does seem like he went obviously twice and did settle there. And I think obviously for yourselves, obviously it might be a little bit disappointing to let a player maybe like that go back. But that is obviously the loan system.
Yeah.
But going back to his kind of attributes, then, if you kind of had to pick, in fact, before I come to that one, obviously you mentioned the player who he played alongside actually there, Yates. Was that partnership maybe key there? Did that make Garner a better player, having someone alongside him who could push him on a bit further?
100%. Because Ryan Yates, like I said, with Ryan Yates, like, Garner wasn't that kind of player who can do 50-50s. And Ryan Yates was the man that can, if like I mentioned, Garner can ping the ball. If Ryan Yates does the dirty work, Garner can just find someone. If he's playing alongside, if he's in that number 6 role, will do all the work for him. And it made Garner improve more. And that's why I think he was slowly, if we had Ziganel not playing, he would push Ryan Yates to say, what? Garner playing that number 10 role. And I think, like I said, it made him a better player. He had to make him a better player because, like I said, start the season, he wasn't getting game time. It was Ryan Yates and Colback, and sometimes, and when Colback had to go left back and Garner was back at number 6, Ryan Yates said to him, "Listen to me, mate. Just do what you do best," and that's what he did. And I think that's why slowly Forest fans were loving him from his first spell. And like I said, you know what? And I think it was January or February. We was getting the best out of him. And I think with himself and those questions are saying, you mentioned it about this guy's going for Man U, because I know Man U wasn't playing great that time. But I think we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, Ryan Yates pushed him so much, and like I say, you got to give credit to the Ryan Yates, just like tell him, "Gone, like I said, do what you got to do," and look at him, man. There's people talking about him.
100%. Jack Colback, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Sunderland was what I remember from Jack Colback. That's a name I've not heard in a while. Yeah, because I mean, you are right. I mean, last season there was shouts for people wanting to recall Garner, mid-season, because obviously we were in a massive slump. Obviously, you were flying. Garner was a key part of that. Well, from what it looked from the outside, and obviously hearing you speak about him as well, there was a lot of United fans going, recall him, get him back, and more sensible people, I think, were just like, no, let him develop and can finish off the season. If you had to pick 2 or 3 then of his kind of standout attributes for people that may or may not have watched Garner before, they may have seen bits of him here and there, what would you kind of say are his kind of main 2 or 3, or if you could think of any more, fine, but kind of key qualities that he has?
There was a game that, I don't know, it was on YouTube, and we won 4-1, and Garner was, and when you're watching a game, it's funny because Garner, it seems like Garner's not done nothing. But I watched the highlights back there, and there's like this clip on YouTube, seeing the best bits of James Garner, and I'm thinking to myself, he wasn't quiet. He did something that no Forest fan's seen. His movement, looking free spaces, that one touch move, touch again move. He knows how to find free space. And when I mentioned that, when he plays that number 10 role, when we're playing fast football, he can do it good. And that's the main thing what Forest needed. And I think it was it March and April time. This is when he was just doing his movement. He's got good movement. He's not afraid to do a risky ball as well. And sometimes he'll pull off, and sometimes it won't. But he knows how to do a risky ball. What else is there? I think I'm not going to say. Do you want me to mention his worst ones?
Well, that was actually my next question in terms of what you think he can improve on. Obviously, because he's going to have. I'm not going to. I'll talk about when he comes back to United in a second, but go for it. What you think he needs to improve on? Set pieces.
Because, like I said, it was a playoff semi-final. Semi-final, and I'm not going to mention that. I think sometimes his set pieces can be better. I mentioned, like I said, with Ryan Yates, when you play in that role, that number 6 role, you've got to be physical and you've got to be a bully. I know sometimes you let you've got to. When I mentioned that, you've got to do that risky ball, but sometimes it won't pull off. But his set pieces and his free kicks are poor sometimes. So yeah, that he needs to, if he wants to get to that Man U side, then he 100% needs to go sort out his set pieces out.
Interesting, because I think I remember him scoring a couple in the academy. I know it's a bit different level of football there, but I've not really seen him take too many. To be fair, when I've watched him in the 23s,
so his corners are poor. They were so poor, and yeah, he needs to improve. Like I said, the playoffs and finals, he wasn't great. So yeah, he definitely needs to improve his corners, his free kicks.
It's an interesting shout, and that kind of leads me in nicely in terms of this is going to be a 2-part kind of question on this, but I'll ask this one first. Whether you think he's ready for the jump up to the Premier League. Obviously, I'll ask you about United in a moment, but the jump, obviously, to the Premier League. Whether you think that he's ready for that now.
Is he ready? I think after what he did in the Championship, like I said, he finished off in a high. Is he ready for the Premier League? Why not? Why not? Because I mentioned the player that we talk about, Mason Mount. I'm not trying to saying he's Mason Mount. I'm not saying that. Why not? He's a young player. He's a hungry player. And he can, like I said, when you do risky balls, I know like the Premier League is it's a different animal to the Championship. So I think he's ready for the Premier League. But I know what your next question is going to be: is he ready for Man U? That's the next question. What into it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, the actual question I've got written down is if he's ready to start for United. So I'll ask you it both ways: if he's ready to start, or if he's ready to be a part of, let's say, the match day squad.
Nope, not ready. Not ready at all. I know your manager likes his young players, and I'm not saying that because I want him to come back to Forest. I'm not saying that at all, but no, like I know Man U, they've got they've got McTominay, they've got Fred, and when you play Man U's a big club, and he needs another spell in the Premier League because if they send him on loan to look at a foreign club, it's not going to help him. And like I said, I think how old is he? Is he 20 years old now? And I think he's 20 years old. And
21, I think he is now.
21 years old, and I don't. He's not ready to be in that Man U team, not one bit. Because, like I said, Man U's their mentality. I'm not saying like mentality to Forest is one. It's completely different because Man U want to get the top four, and winning titles. So he needs another big spell. Will it be Forest? I don't know. So he's not ready for Man U. Simple as that. Like he needs a full season with a lower Premier League side. I don't know. Maybe Forest. Maybe someone else. We never know.
I was actually going to follow that up because obviously we spoke briefly backstage about this, but obviously the rumours, obviously Dean Henderson moving across to Forest, that would obviously block Garner moving across as well. So if that is going to be the case, obviously, well, just your kind of thoughts on that initially, obviously with Henderson potentially being the loanee that you go for, but also where you'd like to see potentially Garner go if, obviously Henderson went to yourselves. Obviously, you mentioned the Premier League there, but is there a specific club you think Garner would fit quite well in?
I know. I think when Garner was playing great with Forest, I know he was linked with Leeds United. You can talk about Brighton because they've got another good manager as well. So these kind of clubs, like I said, Leeds, Brighton, maybe Crystal Palace, because I know Vieira likes his young players as well. So yeah, these kind of clubs will suit Garner, but you don't know. Like I said, he's definitely like I don't think he'll shoot at Fulham because Fulham don't play that kind of football. Even Bournemouth doesn't like Leeds. Like I said, if he didn't come to Forest, Leeds will be personally and Brighton. Them two kind of clubs will suit him. Even the Brentford will suit him, but. Hopefully, like I don't want him to. I want him to go abroad. I don't want to play against him. So, yeah, them kind of clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Brighton's the shout because they've just lost the Sumer, haven't they, over to Tottenham?
Yeah, but they're two type of different players though. Sumer's he's a bullet. Garner's not a bullet. Garner's just like he likes to ping the ball around. So. Yeah.
So I guess that kind of leads into another question I've just thought of off the top of my head, actually, that if he got more involved with the first team at United, obviously there's rumours of De Jong potentially coming in at United. Obviously, you've mentioned a couple of the midfielders we've currently got. Who do you think he needs alongside him or in a trio or however you want to look at it to make that work? As you mentioned, it's a much bigger stage, and especially next season, the pressure is going to be sky high. If we have a bad start to next season, it's going to be ramped right up.
I mentioned players like McTominay. If you come again, De Jong as well. We got Fred. I don't know. It's like he needs someone like say when you got players. We had like Ryan Yates, the guy that sorted all the dirty work for him. So if you mention that McTominay, might be good for him. So I don't know. You need to be alongside someone that can talk to him, who knows what to do in the Premier League. Because like I said, Garner could get lost. If like I said, it's all right. It's all right doing. Like I said, he'll do little fancy tricks, but he's in the Premier League, so he won't get away with it. These big clubs will suss him out, and. He needs someone like who's more, like I said, will tell him do this, do that, and he'll do well. But McTominay or Fred, one and two, someone who's a DM will just do the dirty work. Don't run up, just do the dirty work, and then I think Garner will be fine.
Yeah, interesting. Because like I said, I've said that obviously about 10, 15 minutes ago that a lot of fans are looking at Garner as that player that you've just described he needs alongside him. And I think just hearing you speak there, I think that's going to upset a lot of United fans that Garner's maybe not that player because
he's not ready. I can't like. I said it last season on my podcast. He's playing well. But the Premier League is a different animal to the Championship. You can do that little fancy tricks and that, ping the ball. But if he wants to be like a player like a Mason Mount, he's got to do well. And we mentioned about Man U. I said they're not being great, and they're getting a manager who, like I said, he likes his young players. So you never know. He could do something. He could surprise me and do well for Man U. But me personally, I don't think he's good enough to be in that Man U team if they want to be in top four. Simple as that. But you never know.
So if you were United, if you were making decisions, obviously you mentioned Ten Hag, they're liking these kind of younger players. Obviously we saw Elanga last season, got a run in the team, scored a couple of goals, and then we just kept him in the team. And I think we did a show on this. It was spoken about on Sunday, a brilliant point made that it almost stunts the growth of these players sometimes because at United, we seem to get a good player. Obviously, we had it with Rashford as well. Played a couple of games, played every game. And it was like, we don't kind of put them in and out. So if you were United, what would you be doing with Garner? Would you be sending him back to a Premier League club? Would you be trying to keep him and maybe feed him in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup early rounds? Or where would you kind of, because he's at his age now, like I said, 21. If he gets to 22, 23, 24, potentially, and he's still not broken in, I'd expect, well, to be fair, by 23, I think he'd have moved on by then. But what would you be doing this summer if you were Man United? And also if you were Garner as well, how would you kind of look at it?
Listen, if I was Garner, right, I want football. I've got to play football. And him playing in the Carabao Cup, getting a few games in the league, listen to me, he's not going to like it. Because he needs a loan spell. He definitely needs a loan spell. And that Man U midfield, like I said, you mentioned, what's the right winger you mentioned? Is it the right winger? Elanga. I've seen him, and I know he didn't. He started good. He started good for Man U. Then he dipped. His form was going up and down. Garner, he needs a good Premier League loan. Simple as that. Because if he's not going to play, what's the point? It's all right. It's all right being around the squad, like training with him, but no, he's got to play. He's got to play, and that will improve him. And like I said, he's England under 21 player now. So if he wants to get to England, then he's got to play. Like we mentioned before, we changed the subject. You can talk about the players like Conor Gallagher. He was at Swansea, and now look at him. We did fantastic well for Crystal Palace. Now he's in the England squad, and now he's back in Chelsea's team, and he's good enough to be in the Chelsea squad. So definitely, he needs a spell, nice spell. Then that we're doing good for him.
Yeah, because I think if he went to a lower Premier League side, because your FA Cup run, I believe you play Arsenal, Leicester, and Liverpool, and he held his own pretty well, if I remember rightly, in those 100%. Games. So if he can go to a Brighton or I'm trying to think who's in the bottom half of the table now. I don't know. I was going to say Southampton then, but they're probably going to go down next season. Even
Southampton, but kind of the problem is he needs a loan spell. He might be like I said, he needs to progress. He needs to progress because, like I said, if he's going to a club, sit on the bench. I know, like I said, Premier League is like if you're not playing well, you're going to be dropped. Simple as that. So he needs a spell, regardless. Yeah, that's my thoughts. He needs a loan spell.
Just before we wrap up with a little bit of United talk, I asked this question to everybody that I have on in terms of trying to sell. Well, it's not your league anymore because you're now in the Premier League. But I was going to say, obviously, with the Championship, do you think it works, that loan system to the Championship, in terms of what these youngsters get? And if obviously now you're a Premier League side, would you be looking, obviously when you get established in the Premier League? Is that the kind of route you think younger players should be going down? Do you think the Championship is one of the best places to go if you're a youngster trying to develop?
100%, 100%. And I know there's a few Man U players that went on loan. I think it was Leonard. He was on loan at Bournemouth. I think it was, and he went on loan to Swansea. He was a good player. I think there's a player went away on loan to Derby 2 seasons ago, and he did well. So players like going on loan to Championship club, it does. Simple as that. Because like I said, when I mentioned players like Mason Mount, Harry Wilson, and quite a lot of Man U players that went on loan to Championship clubs, like it helps them a lot. And I mentioned like Callum Gallagher, he went on loan to Swansea 2 seasons ago under Steve Cooper, and like I said, it helps them a lot, so much. And it's good. Like I said, when I see Man U players go on loan to Spanish, Dutch, especially these Dutch teams, it's not competitive as like the Championship is better than the Dutch league. I personally think. So. If you come out, if you go on loan to a Championship club and you come out well, then I think you've got a good chance of playing in the Premier League. So yeah, it's a massive difference, big difference.
The last question I've got on Garner, then, obviously you talk about the Championship there. The one thing that people always say is the physicality of the Championship. If looking at Garner as a player, do you think he's physically ready now for the Premier League?
Time will tell. Time will tell. Like I said, he needs, like I said, if I mentioned he needs to be with someone who's a DM, a big DM, that can talk to him and sort him out. Because if he hasn't, and then the way Man U are playing at this moment in time, if they carry on like they did last season, he's in trouble, and he'll get lost, he'll get bullied, and then all the Man U fans will be on him, and because they'll just say, "Oh, he's just another English player." Blah, blah, blah. So he needs a mentality of, because like I said, when he had that spell under Forest when he wasn't playing great, Forest fans were saying, "No, like myself, I thought myself he'll send him back to Man U." So I think he's ready for the mentality saying, "Oh, if Man U fans go at him," I think he's ready for that. So playing in the Man U arena with 67 or what 75 Man U fans, there's going to be pressure, so much pressure. But tell like he might do it, but he's a young player. So I think, like I said, he's been at Forest for 2 seasons, and those Forest fans, when we're losing, you always go for one player, and it could happen to Garner at Man U. But I hope he does well, because like I said, he did well for Forest, and all Forest fans want to see the ex-players do well.
I think as well, helping the mentality, obviously ending last season on a high. Obviously he's got that winning mentality now, obviously winning in the down at Wembley, in the final there. So I think that will obviously help his mentality as well. Not that, both can work. If you get relegated, players come back and they're stronger because they don't want that feeling again. So it works both ways, but that was just worth mentioning as well. Before we wrap up then, like I said, I like to ask every guest that we have on to talk about loan players, because it's always good to get an outsider view. What do you think on Man United, obviously last season going into next season? And from the outside, what you think we need to do to get back to obviously where we were? Because United fans, we think we've got an idea, but when I speak to fans of other clubs, it's completely different to how United fans are feeling. So where do you kind of look at United?
You know what the problem is? What I said, and when Ferguson left, when other teams were coming and going, and Ferguson left, it's going to be. Man United have the same problem. I think they have the same problem with Moyes, is it Jose Mourinho, Ole. It's the same. So because Man United got this massive reputation massive reputation of thinking, "Oh, we're going to win every single game." And you mentioned that team I think it was a 98-99 season when Man U battered Forest 8-1. I think it was. The problem is that right now, when you got a big player like Ronaldo, and Rashford's not doing well, Fernandes, these big players wasn't performing, and with Man U not playing Champions League football now, and they're struggling to get players in. I've been seeing social media on all that. I know, like I said, you mentioned De Jong. He's come from Barcelona. I think Man U. It's a toxic place. If I'm really looking from outside looking in, because Forest fans were here. When we was in the Championship for 23 years, we had exactly the same. And when you look at Man U, I think they're going to struggle. I think they're struggle because, like I said, when we got a player like Ronaldo, fantastic player, but I personally think you need another world-class striker, because when you look at Man U, right, every time you bring a player in, it's always someone who's over 32 years old, isn't it? You have Ronaldo, you've had Cavani, you had Cavani, who else? Zlatan Ibrahimovic. You've had Henrik Larsson. You've not had a young striker that can tear up Man U, have you? This is the problem. So I think there's so much pressure. Like I said, Maguire's been given so much stick as well. I know Pogba's gone. It's difficult, and I know Fernandes as well. Another good player. Where is he gone? I think is he a good player? I don't know. It's strange, but I personally think Man U with this new manager as well. It's like I said, we had with Steve Cooper, like we thought, oh, not another manager coming in for Forest, la da. But maybe Ten Hag will do the right thing, and I'm not, because we're Premier League now. I'm not saying I want Man U to do well. I don't want you to do well, because when we play you, like want to batter you. So yeah, the banter aside, he needs to sort the team out. He's got to sort the team out and sort the problems from top to bottom.
Is that you saying you're going to beat us next season?
I want to beat you. I want to beat you because, like I said, I was looking up to watch when Forest played Man U at Old Trafford. First time I went there, and kind of the atmosphere was boring, man. I'm not gonna lie, the atmosphere was boring. So when we turn up again, hopefully that we can turn up and beat you up. But like I said, I'm excited. Like I said, I know I'm not gonna say we're gonna beat you up 1-0. Like I know you've had some poor results last season, but hopefully we can go there. When your lot comes to the famous sit ground, we turn you over. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see all these players.
If we play anything like we did last season, we will be getting beat. I can put that out there straight away.
Hope so.
We'll wrap it up there. You've been fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. If people want to check out your content and that kind of thing, where can people search for all of that?
So my YouTube channel is Dore on Tour. It's there. There it is, Dore on Tour. Like I said, I do content. I do vlogs, home and away. I do podcasters. I interview ex-Nottingham Forest players. I interview Forest fans as well. I'm just talking about Forest. So, like I said, if you want to see my content, please hit the subscribe button, because, like I said, my target for the end of the year is 10K. So, please do hit the subscribe button. Like I said, I always have talk Forest. So, yeah, please do hit the subscribe button if you can, please.
Yeah, definitely. Let's make that happen. Especially if Dean Henderson's obviously going over there.
Yeah, as well, Dean Henderson. So if you want to see Dean Henderson, subscribe to the channel and see get our opinion, because I know it's finished. The deal's completely done. So I think he's on holiday. So, but when he comes back, it's official. So, like I said, when that's done, I think I'm going to do a show about Dean Henderson as well. So if you want to see it, make sure you do follow my channel and subscribe.
Definitely go and check that out. Like I said, we're going to have to keep an eye on our United players as they go out on loan. There's going to be quite a few this summer, I'm sure. Yeah. make sure you hit the like and subscribe button over here as well. We've got a few more of these. Obviously, we'll be chatting Chong and Mengi. We'll be chatting Levitt. Palestri out on loan. A lot of players obviously were out on loan last season. Because we don't want to focus on last season because it was so poor. So why not focus on the young players who actually did perform last season? So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon.